Here we are one more time. Grateful to see the sunrise of another day. Some things we take for granted, huh? There are those who did not open their eyes today. There are those who were not able to take a breath today. There are those who were not able to get out of bed unaided, put their clothes on. I am grateful for all of that. So here I am in my morning walking meditation, and I usually go with the inspiration that is received to incorporate this into my, what I call it, my Semaj Mind Spa, which is my global broadcast. We share. The theme of this sharing this morning is on helmets, seatbelts, and vaccinations. Helmets, seatbelts, and vaccination. You know, in some jurisdiction, let's start with the first two. Let's start with the first one, helmets. There's some jurisdictions that mandate that persons wear helmets when riding a motorcycle. I rode a motorcycle. So when both of my sons decided that they wanted to ride motorcycles, I was in no position to morally tell them, no, you can't, even though I understand the dangers. I never had a bad accident with my motorcycle days. I was a stickler for safety gears, irrespective of what the state I was in, meaning whether I was in the state of New York, state of Florida, or in Jamaica. I wore safety gears because I follow the science, and look, you have a certain advantage of surviving in the event that there's a motorcycle accident and you're wearing a helmet. So I was good. My eldest son had a very bad accident, which he survived. I mean, when you have an accident on a 1000cc motorcycle, it can be very bad, but he survived. But that was the end of his motorcycling days because he just didn't want to do that again. My youngest son, he too rode a motorcycle, but I was a stickler for safety gears. When he got the motorcycle, I insisted that not just helmet, boots, chest protector, knee protector, elbow protector, gloves, leather jacket, everything to give you a little edge. Right? Did it. And I guess it worked because you know that phone call parents don't want to get at 5 o'clock in the morning when somebody called that your son is in the middle of the road next to his motorcycle. He hit a big pothole. And obviously the bike flipped. And he was injured. But that was the end of his motorcycle days. All right, so we understand that. Seatbelts. Many jurisdictions insist that there are laws about seatbelts because the evidence is clear that your survival of a accident is greater if you're wearing a seatbelt. Just the movement of a body through time and space and coming to a sudden halt. There's certain problems, but we wear seatbelts. Some jurisdictions, are more stickler than others, but there's some people who refuse to wear seatbelts. Say, look how long may I wear a seatbelt? Nothing happened to me. Wearing a helmet or wearing a seatbelt is no guarantee that you will not have an accident. Is no guarantee that you will not die in an accident. But what helmet and seatbelts have proven, it significantly increases your chance of survival. So for me, whether or not the law said I must wear a helmet or I must wear a seatbelt, I do so. Now, Jamaica is one of those societies where safety consciousness is a very, very limited thing. I have worked in almost every industry in Jamaica. The bauxite sector has the strictest safety standards. For me to go in to do work there as a consultant, I must first get safety training, and then they issue me my safety gears before I'm allowed to come into the plant. All right? Some time ago, I saw a man using a jackhammer in a gas station in Jamaica because they were expanding the facility. This man had every piece of safety gear. He had the helmet clutched on the back of his head. He had eye protectors around his legs. He had ear protector over his shoulder. He had gloves in his back pocket. And to make matters worse, he had a cigarette out the corner of his mouth smoking. Using a jackhammer with sparks in a gas station, every piece of safety equipment. But I'm sure he felt he was invincible. He really didn't need to do that. Huh? He's all right. This takes me now down to the third component. Remember, I told you I had three things in the topic: helmets, seatbelts, vaccination. Vaccinations have been around for over 100 years, and we understand how vaccinations work. And this time around, it's no different. The speed with which these vaccines were developed, because we had a 20-year head start once we started seeing what was emerging. So it's only a matter of time. And with the kind of resources put behind it, vaccines were developed. But just like seatbelts and helmets, there are people believe that, listen, nothing's going to happen to me. I'm safe. I'm safe. I follow the science. Huh? And what the science is now telling us that as the virus mutates and changes, we may have to make some adjustment to the formulation of the vaccines. But what is now suggesting is that, look, vaccinations will not guarantee the fact that you will not get COVID. But one thing it will provide is a much lower impact in terms of how sick you will get, and most of all, if you will die. That data is quite clear. You will be able to transmit it to other people, which could be your own relatives who were safe at home, but they had some of the conditions that made them more predisposed to negative outcomes. So there are persons who decide that, listen, I've seen people who take the vaccine and they got infected. Yes, that's possible. But the survival rate is much greater. The probability of long-term hospitalization is much less. The probability of death is much less. But you too, having gotten it, you can give it to somebody else. You don't know what the condition that person will be in. The reality, folks, is that everyone who has gotten the coronavirus got it from somebody else. Everybody who has died from coronavirus is because somebody else infected them. Do you want to be that guy? So I'm suggesting the same way we understand how helmets work, and the same persons you see who, I don't like helmets because it restricts my sight vision, it's hot, it's uncomfortable, but you see it at the end of the road, no pun intended, when there's an accident, and the survival rate. Those who had helmets, oh, by the way, properly buckled. I've actually stopped next to a motorcycle rider who had his chin strap unbuckled and told him, boss, the most important part of that helmet is that chin strap. Because if it is not buckled to your head, anything will cause it to go. Will cause it to go. And I've seen that happen. So, helmets, it's a probability. You give yourself an extra edge of survival. Simple as that. Mandate or no mandate. Seatbelt, you give yourself an extra edge of survival. Mandate or no mandate. Vaccination, we have been giving our children that extra edge for over 100 years. Hmm? Measles, mumps, rubella, whooping cough, huh? Chicken pox, you name it. Yellow fever, malaria. Now we're working with that. And we have done so and done so very well. Many Jamaicans who go to school in Trinidad have to take their yellow fever vaccine. I did when I had to work in Trinidad. Many Jamaican artists who travel to Africa to work, there's a raft of vaccines that they must take, and they did take, and they do take. So where are we now? Give yourself that extra edge. That's all there is to it. Give those around you an extra edge. Because as we say, if you become infected, the consequence may not be fatal. But the gestation period is longer if you're not vaccinated. Your probability, the viral load could also be higher. And the probability of you infecting the people around you is probably greater. So, the same way it is not possible for us to convince many people to wear a helmet. So you'd understand that it is just as hard to convince people that they should become vaccinated. But the more information we put out, the more general information, the more people understand how these contexts work, we have a chance of surviving. Now, especially if you have a situation, as in some countries where the health system is under pressure already. Do you want to be that guy that adds more pressure to it? I certainly don't want to be. I certainly have made my own choices and decisions, and I'm happy for it. And I encourage all those around me to do the same. Marlon says that this is similar to some people and the vaccine against COVID. Exactly. That's what we're talking about. Pauline, again, this is exactly what we're talking about. So, look, do your part. Huh? Understand the odds. What you can listen, life offers us some rough odds sometimes, but there are things that we can do to nudge the odds in our favor. Strongly encourage that you do so. Have a wonderful day.